What's up, everybody? My name is Doug, and this is Leaving the Dream. A story we've been seeing on the news the past few years. A story about something that's dear to my heart. A story about a battle that's being fought right now. A battle that, if it had taken place 10 years ago, would have had a great impact on my family. This is the battle over the miracle of birth. Birth. Everyone on the face of the planet has experienced it. It's the most common bond we share with our ancestors, all the way to Adam and Eve. Birth. 140 million babies are born every year on planet Earth. That's 4 births every second. And in 2020, 15,785 babies were born in Hawaii. The big question today is, who cares how you give birth? Is there anyone? Is there anyone out there? Do any of you care how we give birth? I've asked people. I don't know anyone. Not a single person who cares how we gave birth. At home? What hospital? Did we have a midwife? Did we have a doula? Did we get an epidural? Nobody cares. And that's what brings us here today. I want to introduce you to 2 of my dearest friends. They were our first friends in Hawaii. When my wife and I moved to Hawaii in 2007, we had no idea what we were doing. My wife was a young nurse, and I was cooking loco moco and Portuguese bean soup in a local diner in Waikiki. And these 2 people invited us into their home. More than that, they invited us into their family. As close as you can get to be adopted as an adult. If it's possible to be Hanai at 25 years old, it happened to us. This local family showed us what aloha looked like. They taught us what it meant to be loving and giving. They defined what it meant to be ohana. They were there for the birth of my children. They cooked us meals weeks after the birth, and they even gave my children their names. I want to introduce you now to my family, my brother and sister, Michael and Rebecca Botello.
What's up, guys?
Hey.
Hey, Doug.
Thanks for reaching out to me, Beck.
Yeah, appreciate you being here.
I remember my birth journey with my wife and our kids, and how important it was to us to have a midwife. So when you reached out to me and I saw you on the news, saw that stuff happening at the Capitol, I was like, this is important. The immediate question that came into mind was, and the question that I posed to all my viewers, everybody watching, is, who cares how I have a baby? That's the question that's on the table.
Sure.
Whether I'm in a hospital, I'm independent of the big hospital system, who cares? I've asked people, and I can't find not a one who cares how I have a baby, or where I have a baby, or who's with me when I have a baby. Nobody cares. It turns out the only people who've ever cared for the 3 kids that we have was the hospital. For some reason, the hospital didn't want us to have a baby independently, to the point where they pushed my wife, who's a nurse, knows the hospital system like the back of her hand since she was 13, and wanted to have a natural birth with a midwife in a hospital. They pushed her to have a birth in our 400 square foot dirty apartment on Rose Street in Kalihi. That's what happened.
Yeah.
All the people that were going to be at the hospital with us were with us in our living room with our jalousies that don't close. So you guys were wiping down, cleaning our whole house with washcloths and whatever rags we could find, and doing what you could to make sure it was clean, because we had to do it in Kalihi because we couldn't do it at the hospital because she had a C-section on her first birth.
Right.
Yeah.
And so
you wanted a VBAC.
Yeah, we wanted to have a natural birth. We wanted all of them to be natural. The first one was a C-section. So we're like, all right, let's do the next one. Nope, not allowed to do it. So they pushed us into a home birth, which was great. It worked out. We've experienced it personally. You guys were there. You were like the most important thing in our life with our birth coaching, and you were like the biggest support system, you and your mom. And so we do have a connection about this topic. And so when you reached out, I'm like, man, we got to do this. And weirdly enough, now the only people I knew that cared was the hospital. All of a sudden, Hawaii politicians care where I have a baby, or who's there when you have a baby. And to me, that's a weird coincidence. Some might say nefarious. Call me a conspiracy theorist. It seems oddly coincidental that the only 2 people that care about where I have a baby or who it's with have nothing to do with me. The only thing they have in common is the medical lobby. I don't know as much about this as you do, so I'm going to give you an opportunity to explain what's going on with the battle for birth.
Sure. Thanks so much for having us here.
Yeah,
and we
thanks,
could
Dad.
not say how much more we love you and your wife and your kids. I mean, your kids and our kids are pretty much all the same age, and they've played together since, what do they call it? Hanabata days, you know, or maybe they're still in Hanabata days. They're young, but here in Hawaii, women currently, they have choices on where they want to give birth. They have choices on who they want to have at their birth. They've got these three groups over here, which is anybody that's trained in the medical system, the Western system. You've got doctors and nurse midwives in the hospital and certified midwives that are trained in Western ways. And then you've got this other group over here called traditional midwives. Some of them are traditional, cultural, religious midwives. And as of July 1st, the state of Hawaii is going to erase this group altogether. So it's not just about erasing the traditional midwives here in Hawaii, it's about erasing women's choices. And, you know, maybe I'm done having babies, but what about our daughters? What about our future daughter-in-laws? You know, you got two sons, we got two sons. You've got a daughter and I've got a daughter. They're Spitfire. They're gonna grow up to be beautiful women and local girls. And the question is, when they are ready to have their children, what options are going to be available to them? And I can tell you right now that if our state legislature doesn't put what's called House Bill 955 to a vote, that this group, this traditional midwifery group, is going to get erased. And all of the women that want to have traditional home births with traditional practitioners, they're going to have to go underground. And that is like the most unsafe way to give birth, is completely unattended, because you're afraid to go into a Western system that doesn't fit your personal beliefs, your cultural beliefs, your religious beliefs. Maybe there's lots of women that have really bad experiences. Maybe they had hospital experiences that were really bad, and the trauma from hospitals, they're like, no, I don't want to go there, but this group is unavailable. So I got to give birth by myself at home. How am I going to do this? The major fight for this has been going on since 2019, when they passed the law through Senate Bill 1033, and it became what's called Act 32. And it had a deadline, it had a cutoff date, it had a kill date for traditional midwives of July 1st, 2023. And there is provided in that law the avenue for regulating traditional midwifery. So these groups of people, they're regulated through one system, and the law provides for regulation of traditional midwives through a system called the PEP process, Portfolio Evaluation Process, and that's nationally recognized by NARM. People don't know what NARM is, but it's the North American Registry of Midwives. It's a nationally, what's the word I'm looking for? Recognized, thank you, way of having women who want to become traditional birth workers work with a traditional midwife, get trained in that manner for years and years and years, read, study, apprenticeship like crazy, and prove your proficiencies like I have over the last 22 years, my mom 40 plus years, all these other ladies 20, 30, 40 years, and all of that knowledge and expertise is going to be erased because the state legislature, specifically Representative Psyche, who's the Speaker of the House, will not allow all 51 representatives who represent every woman, every man, every family in Hawaii, will not allow the 51 representatives to hear the bill that would protect traditional midwives, and anyone who wants to choose them, he doesn't want to hear it.
You know, why would you not want to provide every option available? Even if you don't personally want to choose home birth attended by a midwife who is proficient, trained, and capable, why would you want to take that away? You know, at this point, based on the behavior of the state legislature, the people that are in office right now that refuse to listen to this group that is down there at the Capitol, it just seems like a pride issue to me. And it also seems like that they're so focused on only having things one way that they completely miss the fact that there are safe, very viable ways of caring for mother and child outside of the hospital. And they're just completely dismissive of those options because, frankly, they don't care.
And it seems like they're trying to paint this picture that they just want a safer option for you guys for birthing mothers. But to me, it wasn't even the same thing. The midwife provided a completely different service, much more comprehensive than what we got from the hospital.
Yeah, the average time spent with OBGYNs at a visit is anywhere from 6 to 8 minutes. And an average time spent with a traditional home birth midwife for prenatal and postnatal counseling is 1 to 2 hours every single time. It's just a factory at the hospital. Factory. Get them in, get them out.
And that's why people don't want to go into the hospital.
Right. Yeah. Like how about in COVID time, all these women in the state of Hawaii and all over that you couldn't have your partner with you. They had to drop you off at the door and the woman had to go in alone. Woman after woman, hospital after hospital, had to go in alone without her partner. She couldn't have anybody with her. She had to do it by herself. Masked women who had to wear masks all the way through labor, hyperventilating, everything like that. Nobody to coach her, nothing. But her partner drops her off. They're living together. They made this baby together. He's going to pick her up after, but he can't go in with her. Women didn't want that option. They wanted to be with their partner at home, connected the whole time. And if this House Bill 955 doesn't go to the floor, doesn't get voted on, doesn't get passed, which we want it to go to the floor. We expect it to go to the floor. We expect it to be passed by 51 representatives that want to protect women's birth choices and their partners. You know, it's not just the women, it's the fathers too, that they want their birth choices protected. And we expect that to happen.
Can we talk about what has birth been like historically in Hawaii?
So the curious thing is, after 2019, when the law was passed, Act 32, to regulate all forms of birth work, all forms of midwifery. Because we know that the OBGYNs, the CNMs, everybody in the hospital setting, they're already regulated by their own, by their own laws and regulatory bodies. But traditional midwifery, everything was put in place to regulate. And now they're just going back on the law and saying, no, we're not going to regulate this certain section. We're just going to eliminate that.
So you've been able to use a midwife?
Yeah. Lots of people use midwives in Hawaii before.
Forever.
Well, I mean, I'm pretty sure that hospitals have not existed from the beginning of time. You know, the advent of the modern pharmaceutically driven hospital business. I mean, women give birth all around the world in their own communities with their moms, their sisters, their aunties, their village cultural practitioners. The state of Hawaii in 2019, they set up a task force to look at the safety of home birth in Hawaii. And they looked at the safety in hospitals, they looked at the safety of home births, and they found it was exactly the same. And in fact, there were deaths in hospitals, maternal deaths and infant deaths in hospitals, and there were absolutely none for years. Every single year that they traced back, no maternal death, no infant death with home births that were attended by traditional midwives. None. And all these representatives and Speaker of the House is going around on the news saying it's not safe, it's not safe. And we say, well, we have the statistics, and they say, yeah, but
What do you think changed in 2019 that all of a sudden there's a task force?
Because there was a big enough fight in 2019 where mothers and fathers who wanted the option. I mean, the fact that they even have to ask for the option of where to give birth and who to have at their birth. Like you said, who cares? Why did they care in 2019? I honestly don't know. But because so many people did care, and so many people said, we will not allow traditional midwifery practices to just be erased. There was such a stink, such a fight that they said, okay, fine, we'll give you, the lawmaker said, fine, we'll give you a task force. I think they were hoping to prove that home birth was not a good option. And what it proved is it absolutely is.
Okay, so in 2019, they started saying, okay, we're going to outlaw traditional midwifery.
Yeah.
And then they created this task force. And then now, 3 years later, 4 years later.
You have 4 years to prove your safety.
So they put a time on it.
Yeah.
And 4 years later, they haven't proven that it's unsafe or that there's any real reasons why we shouldn't do it.
They have proven that it is safe and it is and should be left as is.
Okay. And so now we're at a point where this is about to sunset.
Correct.
Yep.
July 1st.
2023. Okay. We're down. We got, 4 months, not even 4 months. And what's going to happen? It's going to go to a vote?
We have until the close of day on March 9th, which is next week, Thursday, for the House of Representatives that presented this bill to protect traditional midwives. we have until Thursday for the Speaker of the House to send it to the floor for all 51 people to vote. It's a complicated process, so I won't gum it up for everybody listening. It's just the Speaker of the House needs to send it to all 51 reps and let them vote on behalf of all Hawaii.
So the Speaker of the House has to send it. That's what has to happen.
Yep. Either that or Governor Josh Green can sign an executive order saying, I'm going to repeal Act 32. I'm going to repeal that law until such time as something can be done to fix it. Representative Scott Psyche, Speaker of the House, can re-refer the bill out of the Finance Committee and send it to the 51 members of the House on the floor.
Okay, Mike, how likely is something like that to happen?
It's hard to tell the likelihood of something like that happening. They have ways of making things work legislatively if they want to, but they have to have the incentive and the pressure from the people to do that. And that's what we're doing. Yes, the constituency. And they're not listening to them right now. Representative Kyle Yamashita, who was in the Finance Committee, and they wanted him to hear them and to do something procedurally to get this bill moving. And he would not see them. He refused. He hid in his office. He interacted with no one from this group. He even refused to interact with two of his own constituents, midwives from Maui, who flew over to Oahu and stayed in his office instead of engaging with them, which is his job. He decided to hide in his office and ignore the people, even his own constituents. It might be inconvenient for them and they might not want to do this. It is their job. We want to have an open and honest dialogue with them. And at the same time, we can see a pattern. We can see that they are trying to placate this group and just feed them crumbs to get them to go away. But we're not going away. It is a right. It is a necessary option to maintain the right for women who are pregnant to have the ability to give birth at home with a midwife if they choose. And I have particular issue with Speaker Psyche's assessment of this. He was interviewed in the news a couple of days ago. I believe it was Thursday. He throws out a line that says, it's for public health. That's his reasoning. And then it's supposed to disappear. That's supposed to be enough information for the general public to ascertain what's going on. But that is not accurate. That is a mischaracterization of the professionalism, the dedication, and the duty that these midwives feel towards their clients and towards these women and their unborn children, to just brush them aside to say it's a matter of public safety. It completely ignores the regulations that are in place from NARM, the procedures that are in place that they hold themselves accountable to, the record keeping, the years, the decades that have gone into practicing this craft, as if to say that taking a look at this from a holistic perspective is somehow wrong. And it ought to be done away with and completely eliminated.
What do people who see this and want to do something, what can they do?
There's 3 things they can do. Number 1 is everybody can take a half day of work, show up at the State Capitol Rotunda on Monday, that's March 6th at 12 noon until 5 p.m. And you can bring your sleeping bags if you want to, because a bunch of people are going to be staying overnight, to hold a vigil for birth freedom, birth sovereignty, wear white, bring snacks, bring a chair, talk to people. That's the first thing that everyone can do. And we will embolden thousands of people to come and stand in the rotunda and say, women of Hawaii and their families deserve every available choice. And it is not up to government to make that choice for any family, any woman. The second thing they can do is they can call Governor Josh Green. They can ask Governor Josh Green to repeal Act 32 and make it so that traditional midwives do not become illegal as of July 1st until something better can be done. They can also call Representative Scott Psyche, who's the Speaker of the House. He's not taking phone calls. He locked his door to the public. All these reps, we've been down there. They locked all their doors during business hours. No one was allowed in. It's the people's house. and they locked the door on the people. So people can call Representative Scott Psyche, who's the Speaker of the House, and say, refer HB955 and put it to a floor vote. Refer HB955 and put it to a floor vote. It's technical jargon, but if they don't understand what more to say, that's what they can ask for. They can also call, I'll give you a fourth option. They can also call their own representative from their own district and say, this is a problem. Are you speaking up for the women that live in our district to have choice? And they can have 51 representatives band together for women's freedom to choose. There's also a change.org petition, and I can send you the link for that so people can sign that petition. We went from 3,000 to almost 27,000 signatures in 2 days. And we would love for it to be at 100,000 by the morning of Monday. We have Bethany Hamilton, world-class champion surfer, putting on her Instagram with 2 million followers. Why do I even have to say this? Support Hawaii home birth community. People are going to have great creative angles on this, and we'll take them all because it's about our daughters and our sisters and our pregnant friends right after July 1st. Do they have to go underground? I don't know.
Well said. Thank you for, fighting for the people of Hawaii and the battle for birth. I'll let you get back down to the Capitol and do that awesome work. I'm going to post links in the description for the change.org petition. And you guys heard it here. You can call your rep, or you could do one of those 3 things that Beck said earlier. I'll put it down in the description below. Help any way that you can. Now's the time. We only got 3 or 4 days. You said the 5th?
Monday the 6th.
Monday the 6th.
Is a big rally.
That's
and
the rally.
And the last day to get it to the floor for a vote is Thursday, March 9th.
Thursday, March 9th. We got to get it done. So Hawaii, stand up, do what you got to do. Thank you guys. I love you guys. I'm glad that we got to hang out and talk. You guys are awesome. And
right.
We'll talk again after this is all over. Okay. We'll get it done.
Yeah. When we win. All
right.
Win.
Aloha, guys.
All right.
Bye.
See ya.
Bye.
Bye, Doug.
Así no es real. A la que como años, para los herbal. Es que por ti no hay, si no eres de aquí, no te quieren nada. Pero cuando entona la tonalidad, me luce bien lunar. No te quedan a ti, son wannabe. Lo quería decir, no es real, G.